All right, joining us now here is someone that has been a frequent guest, as she just corrected me before we went on the air because she has better memory than me on this stat. It's her, she's been on every year since 2019, her first year at UCF. This is her seventh season as head coach at UCF. Time flies. Fresh off leading UCF to their four straight NCAA tournament appearances, multiple conference championships, a regional title, but I'm sure she brags about this just as much as those some of her accolades, like being a two-time All-American at Pacific and Hall of Famer. And that's is her. Now I believe I have this written down. Her ninth appearance overall on In the Circle at D1 softball. 10th if you count the live show that you did the pregame in the 2022 postseason. I speak of Cindy Ball-Malone back with us here on In the Circle at D1 softball. You're moving up on the rankings of the head coaches that have been appearing a lot on the show.
Oh, thank you, Elo. I do not have a better memory than you. I think you just allow me to feel important by letting me have a few little nuggets here and there. But super happy to be back. Excited for season to start, and yeah, excited to talk with you about UCF softball.
No doubt. You've got a young group, but before we get to the young group, we do want to talk about the group that moved on, especially that senior class, which was a historic senior class. To put this in perspective nationally, since 2021, and that's of the 4 year seniors in particular, UCF ranks 21st in wins in the nation. Since 2020, when Jada Cody and Shannon Doherty stepped on and started playing, UCF ranks 18th in the country in wins this decade. That's a very good success rate. Top 20 in the country there, Coach. Just leave talk about that legacy that group has had is with all that success in winning there, with championships, conference championships, postseason appearances, winning that regional historic, and being one of the top 20 winningest programs in the country.
Yeah. Oh, when you're in it, you're just thinking about competing and enjoying the moments and um, learning together and having fun and creating and developing relationships. So I would have never known that stat if you hadn't shared it. But I really just think that it comes down to like trust, belief. An idea can be great. It also can be, not a great idea if people don't buy in. And so um, I've been really blessed to have such a great group that's bought into um, what we want UCF softball to be. The program, the culture, who we are, why we do things, being servant leaders. And that was something when I first got here, I said, like, we're going to learn how to win in the classroom and in the community, and then it'll translate onto the field. And the idea, I mean, some people are like, what? Like, no, 18 to 22-year-olds are not going to want to do community service and for some reason it works and it has worked, but I do think it's the people that make it work. The idea is just the idea. So that's a huge part of it, and the continued support from Night Nation, um, and the belief from our administration of how great our sport is, how much it continues to grow, um, just allows us to like keep pushing it and keep going a little bit more. So, but yeah, those women that graduated, we talk about Jada Cody and Shannon Doherty had been here for a really long time. There's, Shannon's still involved with the program now as a GA. Jada still continues to play the game, along with some of the other seniors that graduated. They bought into this program, the people in it, and they wanted to leave it better than they found it. And that's, someone that really comes to mind, Katie Burge, who's still trying to get connected and stay connected um and help us in other ways that are going to be able to build this program and these facilities up. So I'm really excited to see where they left us and where we're going to continue to take it.
How are you different now as a head coach than you were when you first arrived in Orlando, or even when you started at Boise State in 2015? I mean, I just realized the other day this is what your 11th season as a head coach only.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is I'd like to believe that I became the best version of myself when I became a wife and a mother from the coaching aspect. If I, any time that I run into somebody that I've known from the past, people always say, "Oh, Cindy, that's my real name, not just Baird. I have one." Um, Cindy's super competitive. And I haven't lost that, but being a wife and a mother has taught me that it's more than just winning that pitch, winning that moment. There's so much more that can be left on the table besides a win and a loss. And so I would say really understanding that and understanding that we might take that loss early. And I love winning. So it's really hard for me to take a loss here and there, but we may take that loss early and it's okay. We're going to be better at the end because of it. Um, and again, just the relationships. It's not what I know. It's they know that I care about them. Um, I know that they care about me. I would say that that's definitely changed. But I mean, the easy thing is, when I first got here, we had two boys and a daughter, and now we have three boys and a daughter. And so I'm probably even crazier than before. Um, but I would say that, confidence, not only because of preparation, but because of the success that we've had. And one game doesn't define us, one season doesn't define us. Um, yeah. And just making sure I know as I get older, I really cherish the moments that I get to have with these amazing women, amazing people within our program, the staff. Those moments are really important. And it's funny because I reach out to those seniors that we just talked about earlier, and they might think that I'm like just checking in on them, but I miss them. Like I need them. And so I just got done telling Chloe Evans that like a couple weeks ago of, yeah, make sure you keep checking in with me because Mama Bear is missing you guys. So yeah.
Well, you've got a young roster this year. I think I did the stat. I could be off by one or two, but I believe about 80% of the roster has multi-year eligibility left. About 60% of it is freshmen or sophomores. Uh, is there a bit of it? Do you have to adjust anything because it's a younger team versus last year, for example, which is such an experienced team, versus this year more of a younger roster? Does that adjust anyway your coaching style with them, the approach with them? You have to be more patient. What's the approach like when you have a roster as young as this?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm getting to be, used as a coach more, from the softball standpoint, whereas uh, in the years past, not that they didn't need reminders, but it was more of what they were thinking, getting them into that good mindset. And now I'm getting to like coach the X's and O's of the game a little bit more, which has been like refreshing and fun. Uh, Definitely learning the new team. When we had so many vets on the team last year, we could take days off and we didn't miss a beat. It was, oh, they took days off. They know what we're doing. They know what's expected. Um, and this year, taking days off and getting back into it is just different. And so us learning that it's not their fault. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just us learning what does that look like, and how do we take a day off, but they're still doing something so that they're back into it. How do they check in mentally, um, so that when they get here, they haven't thought about the things that we're working on. So we talk about those things, but the patients, um, I feel like I'm still tough on them. They know that. They know that we love hard, and we work hard and we're hard on them, but we love even harder. And so they do know those things. But really taking more time to get to know them because we are new, we are young, and kind of sharing stories from the history of the program and athletes in it as well. So we've done a little bit more of that this year.
Yeah, I was talking to Cece and Sammy, and they smiled when I brought up the 2022 regional when UCF won that regional there. That seemed to have a lasting impact on some of your recruits, the freshmen and sophomores. They remember that, and it probably inspired them. Like they said, that was so cool to watch it following that. Is that still the lasting impacts? As we'll talk about, because this freshman sophomore classes are from a at least ranking purposes, and take whatever you assault with the how you think of rankings, but it's the two highest ranked recruiting classes in the history of the program to date, and most of them probably were influenced by that 22 regional and that 22
Right.
team.
Yeah, I definitely think it has a lasting effect. People talk about that year um quite often because it was such an amazing it's hard to host a regional and to get into that position and especially the way that we schedule and all of that. So I definitely do think that, but I also think we're telling stories about the 2021 year that I do think kickstarted the 22 season. 2020 is something we don't talk about a lot, but when that season ended, we were ranked seventh in the nation. And we keep talking about, and we know we were ranked seventh in the nation and we were just figuring some things out and who we were and like starting to get into a stride. And we hadn't even reached our peak. We hadn't, gotten there yet. So what could have been really triggered 21 and 22 and to have that core group together for so long was really important. So um, to be able to have this young group like we talk about, we bring up those moments and those times and some of the things that they're asking really reminds me of those years, the 21 years, because it was such a young team back then. So I do think sharing some of those stories has been nice. Sharing the stories of the failures and then being able to succeed afterwards, the mindsets, the game savviness, like it's it's been fun to be able to do that and to have Shannon Doherty here and Sarah Willis, who have been involved in so much success here in the last couple of years, to be on the other side of things and kind of reminding me of what they thought and felt when they were going through it. So that we can coach those things up a little bit more has been fun. So you talk about memory, they'll say things to me that kind of stuck with them. And I'll go like, I said that to you? Yep, you're right. I said that to you, but I don't remember saying that, but it stuck to them and it stuck with them. And, they'll say, you need to tell them this. Okay. So
That's pretty good. By the way, I could tell you've gotten this podcast thing down pat because you segue right into the what I was going to ask you, which is, as you mentioned, Sarah and Shannon, part of your staffs at GA, part of some new faces on the staff with Coach Sanders coming in as to be the help to run the offense. Coach P. former Gator player, of course, just comes over from Oklahoma State to be on your assistant. Just tell me about this staff, especially Coach Sanders. I've never gotten in all my years since you've been here more people ask me about one particular hire than Coach Sanders because of his background coming over from college baseball. So I will be glad that now people will hear your answers on that. But just tell me about the kind of the staff this year. Of course, Shannon Sale, who was a GA, promoted to full-time staff as well.
yeah, so I really just throughout the year, the change I think what's really good, it makes it tough, but what's really good is when you have success and the past couple of years we've had coaches leave here because they've been able to step up in their career. And so you have two assistants that are now head coaches, actually, and another staff member that's also a head coach on the West
You got
Coast as
four.
well.
You got four right now
That
in Division One alone. With Victoria Haywood, obviously now in Nevada, there was your director of ops joining Witt, obviously, and joining obviously Becca, who's obviously at Georgia State, Witt's at App State, among others. There, I mean, that's a pretty good coaching tree you're building, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, the amount of great minds that have come through here and have helped this program along, it's been huge. And, for um the others that are in other assistant roles that have been able to step up in their roles with like Jen Salling and Kaya Gibson, they have also been able to do that as well. Kendra Lynch, they've been able to do that as well. So it's been nice to be able to have all those minds that have really put in the time and effort to help build this program around. But now moving forward, we were looking for something, we've had the success and okay, we need a little bit more. And so we maybe need to grab from a different network, something that's gonna understand our culture, who we're about, but push us and drive us um, to get past where we've already been. And that's tough to do. You don't hear a lot about, our goal is to get to the World Series, and you don't hear about a lot of teams that get there when they've never been there before. And so we're trying to change that trend. And with that, that means we need some change within our ideas and our thoughts, and, helping me get past, the point of where I'm at as well. So, um, doing a lot of homework and talking. Our pitching staff has just really loved Shannon Sales, um, her time here, her presence, her experiences, her stories. And what's so cool about Shannon is when you meet her, she's so humble. She doesn't name drop. She doesn't talk about where she's been. She doesn't talk about um, how many, national championships she's won as a player, as a GA. She'll just say, "Hi, I'm Shannon Sale." Um, and then, we have to name drop for her and be like, no, actually, this is, we talk about all the things that she's been able to do and has accomplished. But usually when you're really good, you don't talk about yourself in that way. So I think that was huge for our team, is she loves up every pitcher in that bullpen. It doesn't matter if, they're the starting pitcher, they're the flamethrower, they're the spin pitcher, they're the closing pitcher. They're all going to get her time and effort. Um, and she sees the game at such a great level, because she didn't start out at OU as a national championship. She built up to that. And so she sees it from definitely a different perspective that I appreciate. And then bringing in Coach Pestrak, um, she's from Florida. She's had such success in the places she's been. She's played so many different roles, wore so many different hats, and you can tell right away. I mean, the girls will walk in and they'll say, "Hi, Coach Bear," because my office is first, closest to the front door, and they'll say, "Hi, Coach Bear," and they see Coach P, and it's like their tone changes, everything changes, smile on their face, and like they need that. Our women need that because they deal with so much pressure, which is a great thing and it's a privilege, but they deal with so many things, and so they need that person that they like. They just lighten up when they see her, and they do, and I'll kind of like yell out like, "Wait a minute, I didn't get that kind of, hello." Um, and it's just a laughing matter, but it warms my heart to see them um just have that experience walking in the door, right? And along with all of her experience and what she brings knowledge-wise to the game, she's just definitely it's UC family feeling, and it's been really nice. Coach Noah, yeah, it's he was a standing associate head coach, and to come over to softball and take this on, I had some conversations with him, and I basically he says this, so I'll kind of try to paraphrase what he says, but he was talking about like how he wants to be a head coach in the baseball world, and he was very close to being there. And you know, going now into it, I said to him, well, that's awesome. And that's great. But you could come in over here and be in the World Series and win a World Series. And not that he couldn't do that in baseball, but I'm going to throw my best recruiting pitch to him. Right. And I talked about, living in Orlando and raising a family in Orlando, and all the fun things that we get to do here. Um, and so then he called me up, a week later, and he's like, "Yeah, I want you to pick me." And I was like, "Whoa, okay, here we go." And so he talks about, he wants to win and he wants to be successful, and this game is growing. And I asked him, "Hey, do you miss the other game?" And he's like, "Nope, I'm loving it." And he also got to bring along one of his former players that's a GA here, and Christian Burnaby. So it's been really fun to have both of them, along with, if I don't mention this man, Adam DeRusha, our director of ops, who I call the chief of staff here. It's been a really fun staff. It definitely feels like family. It's great to have um, to assistant coaches that they have families of their own. They understand that grind. They understand the pressure. They understand that, yes, this everyone has to feel needed and wanted here, but we also have to win because we're, supporting our families as well. And so that appreciation is just, it's been really nice. And they understand too in the grind of things. And I think that we don't talk about this enough, right? As coaches, we're in a game, we're in a heated moment, and we don't get to check our tone with each other. We don't get to check, the messaging. It's just a matter of like, how do we get to win as quick as possible? How do we accomplish this goal? How do we execute as soon as possible? And and sometimes messaging can't be sensitive. And so the fact that we've had those conversations already and they get it and they understand it and they've brought it up has been really nice and refreshing.
It really has. And, the
Yeah.
baseball going to softball has been a very successful trend. I remember in the World Series, Steve Singleton, of course, the hitting coach at Texas, came over from baseball, very similar background hired. You go JT Gasso, of course, the hitting coach at Oklahoma, baseball background. Kenny Gajewski, Oklahoma State, baseball player background. Tim Walton, baseball background. So the trend is the list what it is. I mean, it just translates. And it's not an accident. I think you kind of picked up on that, so it kind of fits there. And who knows? Could be a head coach, could add to your coaching tree. By the way, I did not forget. I wanted the audience to kind of think about. Wait, he didn't mention the fourth head coach in your coaching tree currently. That's Bailey Wickness,
Daily
our good friend
Wickness.
from
Yeah.
Gardner Webb. I didn't forget. I just wanted the audience to think about it. And then I want to throw this shout out. Otherwise, she'll get mad at me. Jasmine Esparza is now a head coach as well at Kobe Community College in
Yeah.
June. So you've got five in lower in a lot of different levels. To put that in perspective, you have four in Division One. Only Patty Gasso with seven and Beth Torina with five have more uh, coaches in their tree that are currently Division One head coaches. That's good company you're keeping there.
Wow, that's awesome. That's it's a really cool stat. It makes me proud because yeah, this job's not easy. I know being around me is not easy too because I'm super competitive. So to see, others just growing this game when they move on is I love it. I love to hear it and see it.
But you clearly have a mindset because I've talked to all of them that are head coaches, and they've all repetitive said they learn from you about building that culture and that vision when they go into interviews and try to insert that in their respective program. They have all of them to a person have said the exact. That's the first thing they bring up when you have been come up. I mean that's not by accident. Is that part? I'm not saying that's what you're doing at the moment, but there is. You were an assistant at one point, so you can relate to being on that other shoe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest building year for me or building years were 2015 and 16 at Boise State. You know, we had losing records, and it was very humbling because I have been pretty blessed to be a part of some very, very successful programs. And and with successful softball players, successful coaches. And so to have those losing records and kind of question myself, I went to at the time it was called the Women's Academy in Colorado. And they just it was really inspiring of, okay, listen, these are some of the things that you need to focus on and just really getting back to like the game is not who you are. It's just what you do. And we say like, yeah, the athletes need to know that, but so do the people that are coaching and administrators and like it's not who we are, it's what we do. And starting to really say not only that, but it's what we get to do. And that was a huge turning point for me because I thought, my first, I had been a head coach in the past, um, and I still get to, be involved in those players' lives to this day. They still reach out to me from Cosumnes River College, and um, you know, I some of my biggest learning moments from then. But when I think about the time of stepping into 2015, I was like, okay, I'm just going to teach them everything I know about certain situations and like just really coach them up. And I thought they're going to respect that because they're going to see how much of softball I know. Eh, It doesn't matter. They need to know that I care about them. They need to know that I'm genuinely getting to know them. And they need to know that like I'm going to want to know them, whether they stay within this program, they leave, whatever, and they graduate. And when I flipped that switch in my own life, and in my own brain, it really helped us and we started winning. So that year at Boise, we were the best turnaround team in the nation, right? I think we ended up winning like 17 or 18 more games than we had ever won the year before. And then it just kind of like carried on. And we got into like, no, we're gonna learn how to win in different ways. And when we start to feel good, we're gonna do more and we're gonna be motivated to do more. Um, and so that's really where I learned some of it. And just talking to other people, when they're not getting something on the field, stop getting mad at the actual physical skill. Just go and say, hey, how are you doing? And it's so simple and it seems so simple, but it means the world. And now I'm finding like when athletes come and do that to me, I'm like, oh, okay, now it's a full circle. Like, cause they'll see like, hey, Coach Barry, you're a little stressed right now. Like, are you doing okay? Wow. And it just, again, it's more than just the game. It's more than just the wins and losses, because there's so much, uh, again, left there on the table that we can utilize and help us grow. So that's really been, I believe, a key to who we are, the culture, why we do it, and it's more sustainable.
Let's talk about, of course, the pitching staff this year. That's always a very popular traditional question since you've been on the show, and certainly even before that. Every year, fans always ask about UCF pitching. That's a lot of tradition there. No different this year. You've got five arms. You got led by senior Caitlin Felton. Just tell us a little bit about each pitcher and what you expect from them, starting with Caitlin. Obviously, it was her big year now, her senior year.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch her grow and develop and really take on the role of, the veteran because she's been involved with pitching pitching rosters and staffs that have had some great, great pitchers. She got to be here as a freshman with Aaliyah White as a GA. And then Gianna Mancha and Kama Woodall were her senior pitchers. And then after that, Sarah Willis coming along and pitching with her, Grace Jewell, Angelina DeVoe. She's been able to be a part of like quite an awesome pitching staff since she's been here. And it's been nice to see her take on that role of um, a mentor for the rest of the group and getting not being afraid to be feisty. I want people to kind of question like, is she a little crazy in that circle? And so it's been nice to see her take that on and believe in that. And I've told her this before. She's got some of the best stuff of any pitcher that I've coached. And now it's just time to let that ride and go. And so it's been nice to see her kind of like let loose. And then you have transfer with Lena Elkins. She's just really done a great job of developing and growing with our curriculum. We do a lot of different things to reach all different types of pitchers, not only learners, but also the pitchers. And it's been nice to see her develop a different type of pitch to go with her strengths. And so I'm really excited to see that go in her direction. I think when we got her, she's kind of like a gentle giant. She's got great stature and she's got good velocity and it's even increased since she's been here. And now it's just like really bringing that dog out and being okay being a dog. So that's been fun. And then Caitlin Cochran, who had some great innings and appearances last year, just seeing her being able to step in and like really take off from there and hearing her talk more in meetings has been really nice. So I'm excited to see her uh, have more innings and have some confidence in knowing that we're not just throwing out there to mix it up. We're putting her out there because she's the person we want in the circle, right? And so her really buying into that role is exciting and nice. So we're excited about that. Isa Vega, she redshirted last year, and uh, I'm so pleased with the amount of development and growth she's really gained as she's been here, not only from a physical standpoint, but from knowledge and just really working on the psyche of the game as well. Um, I think we're going to find a new annoyer in Isa Vega. So um, you can't replace Angelina DeVoe, but we definitely need somebody that's going to annoy. And um, I can see her doing that with the nasty stuff she's got as a pitcher. And then we do have six. So we have Macy Miles, who redshirted last year. She will, she's a two-way player, so she'll play a lot of on the field hit, but then she can also eat up some innings for us as well. So we'll look for her in those moments. And then our freshman, Yesenia Lopez. Yeah, she is, I think, just right now, you look at her and you're like, okay, she's a horse. She might be a baby horse right now. And I don't know the name of the baby horse. Is it a calf? I don't know my terminology, but I see how she works. She just dominated in the fall, and then um I think she still is going to think about this hit in the fall that like kind of gave up a lead in one of our games, and she has just been so determined since. And Shannon Sale and I have just been smiling ear to ear, and she's like driven, right? Because of this, like all she's thinking about is when's her next game so she can get in there. So to see how she steps onto the field, she doesn't look like a freshman. She doesn't act like a freshman. She wants the ball. She's fighting for the ball. It's been awesome. But I do think the success of our pitching staff, it is a tradition. And we talk a lot about our programs culture. And we always say, like, the game is started in the circle. Our culture is started in the circle. They're highly competitive. They all want the ball, but they are each other's biggest fans. They will push each other. They'll be honest. They're not going to tell them what they want to hear. They're going to tell them what they need to hear. Um, but when they are out there, it's so awesome to watch them cheer for each other. And not just cheer for each other, but genuinely want them to succeed and notice when they are reaching those small goals.
Yeah, and of course, Yesenia, for those that don't know, helped Puerto Rico in 2023 win a silver medal at the Pan American Games. I think she was teammates with Gianna Mancha, which, by the way, is also on your coaching tree. She's a GA at A&M. We're gonna have your husband Bobby keep track of all these people that that players and coaching everywhere. It's a long list, but how much did that experience playing internationally you think will help her because she's not your traditional freshman from that standpoint?
Yeah. Well, her and Isa Vega both have
Yep.
played for Team Puerto Rico, so it's been huge for them to have those experiences. And we got to see that with Jada Cody when she went and played with USA. And I mean, even like Sarah Willis playing in the Florida League and playing in, some different women's tournaments, just the experience that they get from those moments. Shannon Doherty playing in the Alliance and Stormy Kotzelnick playing in the Alliance. It's been huge for them to have those experiences and then bring them back and see, for Jess, Yesenia, we call her Jess, um, to be able to pitch against some of those hitters, she can, really lean into that, especially in a big time moment in a game of, I've been here before, I've done this, even with somebody that's older and wiser, like I've got this and I've got the stuff to do it. And same thing with Issa, her experience going, traveling over to Europe and then coming back and um, it's just they seem like they went away maybe like a young lady and they're coming back women. But in the game of softball, and it's been nice to see just that change in that development.
Of course, you mentioned Macy Miles. The reason I didn't bring her up as a pitcher is because I always feel it. I leave it blank to see because she's played so many roles and can play so many. She's like a Swiss Army knife. She's played first base. She's played right field. She could do all that. She could hit, could do a lot of different things. She's kind of like Katie Burge. I knew she was going to play somewhere or do something, but it could be everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's kind of your roster in a way is you have a number of these athletes that can play a lot of various positions, and I think that's been showcased in your infield this year. You have, because I think there's a perception that you don't have a lot of experience. You do. You just did. They didn't start a lot because you had an experienced group. You have a Jasmine Williams, for example, last year in the infield, so there's not a lot of time, or Jada Cody at third, so Sierra Humphreys isn't going to start as many games, but she's back with experience. Sammy Ray is back with experience. Aubrey Evans is back in your infield. Talk about your infield and how that is shaping out, especially a catcher, which might be the deepest it's ever been in this program.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's been fun because, Ashley Griffin's been behind the plate for us quite a bit of time. And, um, you know, not having Shannon Doherty over there at first base and running the infield, um, it's kind of like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And in my brain, I'm like, well, Ashley can go there. I mean, she played shortstop in high school. She can go there, and she's done a good job transitioning over because we do have two young catchers that are very, very good at what they do, and Beth Damon and Kylie Straught. But you're exactly right, right? Like Aubrey Evans is one of the most successful middle infielders that we have here, not only from a defensive standpoint, but also an offensive standpoint. I think she went the whole Big 12 season without making an error last year. Um, and so and we were a contact, a pitch to contact type of team last year. So that speaks volumes to who Aubrey was. But you said it exactly right. Jazz Williams, if I'm not mistaken, was the number one 2018 recruit. And so when you're maybe not playing in your, chosen spot, but you're playing behind the number one recruit or, ranked player out there, there's a reason for it, right? And so again with Cece as well, the experience that Cece and Ray Ray had on such a seasoned team last year, the amount of innings that they played, I think is going to definitely speak to the type of athletes that they are. Because they played a great amount of innings. They got a good amount of at bats with 11 seniors last year that could really play the game. So I'm very excited to see how it's actually really pushed them to work harder to be ready and be like, someone's gonna have to work real hard to take my spot, which has been nice to see. And then, it's just like you said, those freshmen that we brought in, they've played at a high level. They've played with some of the best athletes in their class. They've won a national championship in travel ball. So you're going to get to see experience. It just might be younger people that have that experience.
Yeah, I mean, this freshman class is part of that three straight top 25 classes you've brought in there. What is the identity of this freshman class? You have Izzy, Coco, Kendall, Izzy, Beth, who is one of the highly touted catchers in the country. Describe this freshman class and what they will bring to the program.
Yeah, well, they're very mature when it comes to just carrying themselves out on the field, taking possession of the field, the game, knowing the game. And then, I mean, I've never seen a freshman class come in and be like, yeah, I'm going to go cold tub. Right. And you're like, well, what does that have to do with the field? Well, usually we have to teach them and kind of like tell them it's mandatory to go take care of your body like that. But they're so on like being on top of taking care of their body and being readily available for the next day. And so that's been like that to me means, okay, they're already seasoned. They know what it takes to be able to reach peak performance day in and day out. Um, and what's required of it. And you're going to have to do things that are not comfortable, that you don't need to do. And they put it into their daily schedule. Because usually we'll see that transition into their sophomore, junior year, but our freshmen are here at the field all the time. They have full access to the cages when they want to hit on their own. And because, for them, 4 hours a day is not enough. And I sometimes have to say, like, hey, it's off limits. You can't go out there, take a break, go be a college student. Um, and so having to do that at such a young age has been really nice to see with this group. They're also talented and we talk about it. Like we're going to have some of those freshmen come up and like key clutch moments. And why not them? And it's fun to have that refreshing moment because they can just go do it and, learn as they go. And it's fun to be in that place right now. I'm sure it'll be frustrating at times. It has here and there, but I'm enjoying to appreciate those frustrations.
Well, you're not alone. There's a lot of coaches I've talked to that have shared the same thing because I feel like this year the sport is so young because
Yeah.
there was so much graduation, not just from regular seniors, but you had to lose the COVID seniors. So I feel like as a whole, the sport this year is a little younger. Even some of the opponents that is on the schedule, like Georgia, for example, at opening weekend, they're kind of in a similar boat where they're very young. So that's just part of the nature this year. What's going to make it unique is you're going to have to depend on youth this year across the board in the country here.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think if you rewind back to 21 and 22 seasons, like we were pretty young back then. And so I, you don't know what you don't know. And usually you're a little bit more of a risk taker when you haven't, like, you don't have, I guess, experience in the knowledge of like something won't work. So why not just go and do it?
Sure.
And, you know, this game is such timing and game of luck and, a chance. So, that part's fun. And there are times where last year we had 11 players that were highly talented. They've also experienced failure. And so they knew like, well, remember that didn't work, And so I think it both are equally good as well as can equally provide some room for growth. So I think it's fun to have kind of that transition or that circle that we're in right now.
The outfield again, you did lose a lot in the outfield, but you do have experience in the outfield that again is a little under the radar. Stormy Kotzelnick, who got into the lineup during the season, found the role. She's back. You got Maddie Simon, who you added from the portal, who's been to the World Series at Oregon State. Alexis Morgan's back for another year. Just speak of the Macy Miles. I mentioned could play the outfield. She could play everywhere. I'm pretty sure she could take my job if she wanted to as well, with her family background there, her sister. But give me the outlook on the outfield. It's going to be new, so a lot of people are going to get familiar with it, but yet it's not as young as people might think from a playing standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned quite a few people there that are going to be huge. Stormy transitioning to the outfield for us because she knows like her bat's going to be huge for our game and huge for our team. And we've kind of had left field has kind of been a position where we've rotated quite a few people in it the past couple of years. And Stormy and I really talked about like, hey, we need somebody to lock in left field. And lock it in not only from a defensive standpoint, but like that offensive position in the lineup. Like we need somebody to take over that and kind of be a staple like Jada and Shannon and Chloe were in the lineup in years past. Um, and so that was a great conversation, and she's just done such a tremendous job transitioning to the outfield for us. Maddie Simon, wow, like wow, I such a gamer, such natural ability to read a play. We'll smoke a ball and when we're doing kind of like live situations and she's out there in the outfield and I'm like, oh, that ball's getting to the fence. And she's just like, it almost looks like she's coasting, but she gets such a good jump on it, read, and she's like caught it, sets her feet and throws. I'm like, she didn't even have to do that on the run. And I thought that was a like sure gapper. We're scoring on this run. And now these runners are having to go back and scramble. Um, she just does everything so smooth and it looks effortless. And to have the World Series experience is, I mean, it's the first time that I've been able to say that we've had that on our team at UCF. So to be able to have that experience, and she's talked about like how this team, has really competed and grown and knows each other. And she's been able to talk about like we have what it takes. And so that's been fun too for her to share that. And I mean, I talk about her defensive skills, but her offensive skills too, like the way she runs the bases. You see her and you're like, okay, she looks like she's, pretty strong, but she's got some power and she can really run on the bases too. So really excited to see what she does in her last year of her career here. And then we'll have some other people playing the outfield. Taylor Kittleman's kind of transitioned out there. She's got a great arm, and I mean, we just she lets it loose out there. Like you mentioned, Alexis Morgan, Ray might play a little bit out there because of Coco. Coco could also play out there. So that's what's been fun to have athletes that come in that are utility diverse type of athletes that can play different positions so that we can put the best matchups when we need to make them.
I was going to say, you might have some different lineups early in the year. For nothing, A, competition, but B, it gives you options to give teams different looks.
Absolutely. And that's, maybe we need to go a heavy lefty lineup or a heavy righty lineup or maybe like a running lineup. And so we have the opportunity to do that because of the defensive, the defensive players that we have this year. I think in years past, I would say we were probably more offensive, and then had to make late defensive replacements at the end. And this year, I would say we're equal in both. Um, but I would say like that's one thing I didn't mention. I really like the perspective that Noah brings from the baseball side of things, and how he really focuses on, yeah, I might be the offensive coach. I may be, working with the hitters, but defense is consistent and it stays. And offense is going to go up and down, and offense is hard. And like just the little things in the game. People think like, oh, baseball just goes and swings big, but the the amount of emphasis we've put on base running and small ball and how important all of those things are, and him backing that up has been so important because that's been a big part of my game and how I've always coached. And I feel like our game has kind of transitioned to going bigger, swinging bigger, no bunting, defense gets 20 minutes of practice. And so to get back to that has been really, really fun to have. And for our team to take it as seriously too has been nice.
You have a handful of seniors on this roster. Speak to the identity of the senior class and the leadership, because I know you depend on your seniors for leaders. Not that they're exclusive to them, because I know you have other leaders. But speak of this senior class in particular.
Yeah, so three seniors that are in their last year of eligibility. Ashley Griffin is a redshirt junior. So she is a senior in school, so she's been here for some time. But yeah, Stormy, Maddie, and Caitlin Felton. It's fun because they do a good job of being selfish when they need to be, like working on their own game, keeping their bodies right, working on their mentality and their mindset. But then they're like, if you listen to Stormy talk about what the team needs, and she is able to like flip that switch, like I can just yell out because Stormy's such a competitor, and especially at the plate, such a competitor. And there'll be times, well, where I can see her like get a little frustrated of like, I wanted that pitch. And like she'll kind of get like upset at herself. And I'll just yell out, hey, what does the team need? And she switches the gear like that now. And to see that, that's leadership, right? That's leadership. And the girls look up to her. Stormy's got a presence, and it can be a scary, intimidating presence. And so I love that she's able to flip that switch and be selfish when she needs to be, because the greatest athletes and competitors are, and it's not bad, and also be team first, right? And so to see that in all three of them, um, I'm really pleased with what they've done and what they're doing and giving back to this team.
Big 12. It's got a different look this year. In fact, it's funny because I remember a lot of people you grew up as kind of watching, following the Pac-12. You've coached in the Pac-12. You got three now. You got Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah in the league. That's where Big 12 play. In fact, we'll start at Arizona. You're going to start with the Arizona schools at Arizona, then host Arizona State. What's your thoughts on the Big 12? What did you learn from last year to going into this year? And What's it like this year in year two? I've talked to a lot of the coaches in the Big 12, and they keep talking about this. I'm going to call it now the famous meeting in Dallas, where you all had a blast and got to know each other and kind of compare ideas. Compare it because they obviously the teams from the pack have their own ideas. They want to pick the Big 12 brains, and the Big 12 coaches picking their brains. So it was a lot of coaches really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But your overall thoughts there on the Big 12?
Yeah, just to piggyback on the meeting in Dallas, we compete so much on the field that it's good to get to know the person, and to be able to see him face to face, kind of, off the field, and see how much each individual coach cares about the game. It is really important because usually when you're in the moment and competing, you don't know that they think that way or feel that way, or um, genuinely care about, you know, um, other people's athletes as well, when and the success and the rewards and the awards that they can get. So it's really cool to be able to collaborate and share for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, what I learned last year is it doesn't matter who you're playing in the conference. It doesn't matter if they're, number one, or if we're down, in eight or nine. It's tough. And every single game, every single inning, it's tough. There's no break. And that's a grind. It's a grind as an athlete to go through that. It's a grind as a coach to go through that. The coaches are so well informed, they're knowledgeable, they're competitive, they're professional. So I mean, it's the bigs, right? And so that was a lot of fun to be able to be a part of that and see that. And then I also learned it's still the game of softball, right? And you don't have to be different to compete in it. You just have to be really good at what you're good at. And so to keep it simple, I learned that as well. But this transition of like going back towards, kind of like you said, I've lived on the West Coast for quite most of my life. I've been a part of the Pac-12. Um, and it'll just kind of feel like, okay, this is, I've been here before. I know what it's like. I know what restaurants we want to go to. I know what hotel is really cool to stay at. I know how cold it can get in Utah. I've played at a regional in May where it's snowing on us. And so I know all those things, and are able to kind of share some of that knowledge. But again, the game's the game. I think it's funny because we had a recruit ask me once, what's your like, what team are you most looking forward to playing? And I think the biggest mistake we can make is, yes, we're in the Big 12. We're very proud of it. Our conference is awesome. And it's a strong softball conference. But at the end of the day, we're just playing Sally, right? Like, we're not playing against an opponent. We're playing against our best self. And so that's going to be my big message and my expectation of this program and the individuals in it, is that where, conference comes, all right, what are we focusing on? Well, we're traveling to Arizona, so we've got to make sure that we're getting our sleep and we're hydrating, and, the flight and homework, and, when we're going to fly back. And then let's go play the game like we play it, and let's go play against our best selves, and let's set some small goals that we want to accomplish, instead of, oh my gosh, we're playing Arizona. Right. And you got to do that when you're playing against these teams every single day.
Is correct. And then we're not even going to talk about the non-conference schedule, which, opening weekend, that's one of the most talked about tournaments in the country. Top two tournaments, depending, right there is a much marquee with Georgia coming in, JMU coming in, NC State, Illinois, Bakersfield. There's been a lot of coverage of that tournament. Then you go to the ESPN tournament in Clearwater the next weekend. You got Missouri, Liberty coming in midweek. So you're going to Oklahoma later in the non-conference, home and home with Florida. It's good to see you win easy on your young group.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I'm like, who made that schedule? I've got to talk to that scheduler, for sure. Um, But I want to know, you said top two, like who's better than us in that
A lot of
that
people like the
I'm
NFCA. A lot of
I'm
people
just
like that
kidding.
NFCA. Which hey, it's a nice drive, hour and a half, 2 hours. That's
Yeah.
been the two most talked about tournaments. Is our tournament and that one. There's a pitcher at Texas Tech that it's going to debut there that people
Ah,
talked about.
okay. Well,
You know,
competitive me over here just wanted to know. So,
but that's what makes this Big 12 so exciting. Some of the best players reside in this conference, not just in our roster, but across the league. That's the other thing that jumped out for me watching it live and covered it on a daily basis. And it's the same this year, led by Nija coming over to Texas Tech.
yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so fun. And I think that our women need to understand like we're competing and competing at a high level against the best. That means that, we're a part of that, a part of being the best. And so that means that we're able to change history or grow history by, breaking through and getting to OKC a couple of times this year.
Yes. Two more things. How's your dance skills? That's
Um,
obviously become a very trendy topic on social media. We've witnessed a lot of your dancing. It's a lot of cameos. Some of your players have, from what I'm told, is helping you. CC graded you as an 8 out of 10. She says she's tried to help you there as well, among others. Where are we on the dancing skills here? Because people have asked me about this. This has been normally I get asked about the roster and things like that. And I still get asked about that, but that has definitely been a popular question about, hey, what's the story behind the dancing? So okay, here's your platform.
Oh boy. Okay, well, just so everyone knows, Cece giving me an 8 out of 10 in my brain is 100% because her favorite number is 8. So she gave
Fair,
me
it's fair.
the best number that she could give me, I think, right? So don't think that that's a B. No, it's being able to reach out to all different types of people on our team, right? Like and we could be against social media and what it has evolved to and or we can join it and be a part of it and the relationships that I've developed with our athletes while learning some of these crazy dances are it's been fun, right? And they get to see me in a vulnerable setting not being able to do some of these moves and they laugh at me and then they have to coach me up. And they see how I'm having to learn and process it's like, well, okay, we're switching hats here. And so it's been fun. Now, I think people still need to know I'm still competitive. I still take things seriously. Um, but it also for my kids at home, like they ask, Mom, can we do this dance? And then I have to learn it for them too, and not I have to, I get to learn it for them. I need to change my narrative there. I get to learn it because they're asking me and letting me stay involved in their life in that way. But um, I've always been one that loves music. I love dancing. I used to say if you could dance, you could hit, like because of rhythm, right? And so I've I think it's kind of like a piece of my love language, I guess. And um I'm embracing it a little bit more. But I think it's big when a Taylor Kittleman comes up and says, "Hey, Coach Bear, I've got a TikTok we can do." I'm like, "All right, what is it?" Hands up on my hip and I'm dipping and but it's funny because, my little 4-year-old singing that song now because he saw the video but yeah, I do get a lot of a lot of teasing, I guess you would say, from my colleagues. But I just, think, hey, you want to join? Come on in. So uh if they're talking about you, it must be good, right?
But
That's
there's
what
a
I think.
message. There's a hidden message there, like you mentioned, which is, hey, let play loose, like right to your
Yeah,
players, like, hey, enjoy this. Like, this is not like don't be tight, because that's why I know you don't like when your teams play tight.
yeah,
That's
no.
something that's bothered you over the years. So I would imagine that was my thought was that's this is a message of we're going to be a loose group. Yeah, people are going to say we're young and what we can or can't do, whatever. We're going to play loose and let it all out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right, Elo. I didn't bring that up, but we're gonna get out there and just, not think about it, do it. Not, I am completely uncomfortable when we do those. Like I'm nervous and people are like, no, you love it. And I'm like, well, it's fun, but like if you look at my actual face, like my lips are like, okay, when do I go? When am like listen to the beat? It's nervous. And then when I go to post it, my heart is like racing. But again, that's what they go through in certain moments when we're expecting them to perform and execute. So why shouldn't I be put in those moments too?
It's just like the first time you appeared on the podcast. You know, it was very
Oh,
nerd, right? It just settle in. You're normal there. Last quick thing. I know you always like to find out about your team when you're opening weekend, second weekend. You always find out things about your team. What are you looking forward about finding out about this group?
um, wow. Well, how they're like this is one part that's like my favorite part, but then also it's so tough as a coach is when that starting lineup comes out, right? Because everyone wants to start, and usually if you're recruiting well, all of your players used to start, whether they were, what level they were at. And so um unfortunately we can only start 10 people at a time. And so people think that that's their value to you. That's how much you like them. And so that's my least favorite. I don't ever want my athletes to feel that way. My most favorite is watching the competitiveness and how they push each other to basically pay rent to keep that spot. And so we talk about that quite often. But I'm intrigued to see how they actually put into play all roles have equal value. All roles may not feel equal, get equal time, but they all have equal value. And so I'm intrigued to see how this team is going to put that into action and make that be. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to is them really working on their routines. We've talked about it a ton, and controlling their breath, and just wearing the uniform, and doing their thing, and uh play, recover, play. Their response to something that they didn't like. I mean, you could say failure, but their response, how are they going to bounce back? But also their play, recover, play to something really good. How are they going to bounce back and do it again and repeat it again?
That is UCF head coach Cindy Ball-Malone joining us here. Coach, always a pleasure. I enjoy our well, we spend a lot, we talk a lot. So this is usually our traditional beginning of talking a lot throughout the next handful of months. But I do appreciate generally you taking the time to come on the podcast because you do have a lot of stuff, not just with softball, but being a mom and being a wife. So I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to the audience here on the show, and I'll definitely look forward to seeing you throughout the year. But thanks for doing this as always.
Oh, Elo, thank you so much. And I'll have to know that you are inspiring more than you know, because my 4-year-old knows what a podcast is. Um, we did get this refrigerator that has like a TV on it. And so your podcast is played on that TV for our 4-year-old. He loves it. And so the fact that they know what a podcast is, they they know what in the circle is, they know all of those things, they ask for the D1 softball password, like they're doing all of that stuff. So you are impacting more than you know, and we appreciate it. And just thank you for highlighting what I think is the best sport out there.
Just teach them how to do the 5 stars review on when mom's is on the episode. That's the key.
Okay, I need to do that. Yes,
Thanks,
yes,
coach.
absolutely.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.